What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And as you saw the new introduction, this is a new mini-series we are running here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast channel called Woulda, Shoulda, Coulda. And it's going to be discussing things that would have, should have, or could have been in the world of Major League Baseball. We begin this first installment looking at the Chicago Cubs Dynasty that never was. But before we get into it, if you are new to this channel, we want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as it does a huge service for us here at the Baseball Banter Broadcast channel. We're trying to spread the word about this channel and all things Major League Baseball, so if you can, share this channel with all of your baseball friends. Now, as we look into the Chicago Cubs Dynasty that never was, this is a very important starting point. And that is the way that the Chicago Cubs were without for so long. The foundation that they laid, and ultimately what won them the 2016 World Series championship, and why they could not get past that one World Series. So we're going to look into a couple of different things on this particular episode. Again, this is just the first in a series that we are going to be running about different things that would have, should have, or could have been in the world of Major League Baseball.
Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series!
The Chicago Cubs were baseball's team. They were the lovable losers, the sufferers of a 108-year World Series winless drought. The longest reigning drought of any of the four North American major sports leagues. This is what really solidified this set of Cubs as the favorites amongst everyone in the 2016 World Series matchup that was not from the state of Ohio or the fan of the Cleveland Indians. The Cubs had done it the hard way, going through a plethora of seasons where they were absolutely the worst team, but they laid the foundation, they put a plan in place to be able to walk away as a victor in the World Series. Theo Epstein, Jed Hoyer, and his team would put together the plan, the course of action, very different to the course that they had run in Boston to win the World Series there and drop a 86-year drought in terms of a World Series victory. This was a much more different project altogether because of the way that the Major League Baseball landscape had changed, most specifically in the way that players were able to be drafted. The pools of allotted money changed. This would not allow the Cubs front office, the new Cubs front office in Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer, to be able to kind of manipulate the system the way they had in Boston.
It was almost 2 years ago today that I first addressed most of the people in this room as the new chairman of the Chicago Cubs. Back then I said we had three priorities. The first goal, the most important goal that we outlined on that day, was to win a World Series. Today, we take a major step toward achieving that goal with the announcement of our new president of baseball operations, Theo Epstein. We believe that the Chicago Cubs have the best fans in baseball. We know that we have the best ballpark in baseball. And we look forward to the day where we can say that we have the best team in baseball. And we are confident that our new president of baseball operations will lead us to that day. And with that, I'd like to introduce Theo Epstein.
And I consider myself very, very lucky to be a Cub today. It truly is an honor and a privilege to join such a special organization. And baseball is best of all when you win. You know, that ultimately is why I'm here today. With this ownership and with this fan support, I firmly believe that we can preserve all of those things I just mentioned that make the Cubs so special, and over time build a consistent winner, a team that is playing baseball in October regularly, and a team that will ultimately win the World Series. But that does not happen overnight, and it certainly does not happen because of any one person. Over time and together, we will build a solid foundation that delivers sustained success for the Cubs. That foundation for sustained success starts with a commitment to scouting and player development. Not just the words, but the actions.
So this had to be done in a different way. And what Chicago would do is that they would build around a core of position players, where most teams would build around a core of pitching, which is much more difficult to acquire, or so it would be thought. That the Cubs would go the opposite way. One thing that Theo Epstein always had for him is that he would zig when others would zag. Theo and Jed would go about bringing in several impact players that they saw as the core for their run by 2016. Players like Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant,
The Chicago Cubs select Chris Bryant.
Kyle Schwarber,
The Chicago Cubs select Kyle Schwarber.
Schwarber, 6 feet, 240 pounds, catcher/outfielder, left-handed bat.
and Addison Russell were the foundational pillar pieces for the Chicago Cubs roster. But let's take a moment to look back at the 108-year drought of the Chicago Cubs.
It's the 1945 World Series, and the Chicago Cubs are leading 2-1 against the Detroit Tigers when they roll into Wrigley Field for Game 4. Enter one eccentric Cubs fan named William Billy Goat Cianis. He shows up to cheer on his beloved Cubbies with 2 box seat tickets, one for himself and one for his pet, a goat named Murphy. But before the game is over, Cianis puts a powerful hex on the Cubs.
Cianis adopts his pet goat in 1934 after it falls off a truck and wanders into his bar. It's the beginning of a beautiful friendship. He grows a goatee and changes the name of his place to Billy Goat. Soon, that's what everyone's calling him. For the 1945 World Series, Cianis heads to Wrigley Field with his personal mascot, Murphy, who's appropriately decked out for the occasion, into Wrigley Field, and the duo cheer their team together. But things turn sour when spectators catch a whiff of their four-legged neighbor and complain. That's when Cubs owner P.K. Wrigley, who'd taken over the team from his father William, steps in.
Mr. Wrigley says no goat allowed in here because your goat smells. He says the Cubs, they're not going to win any pennant or any World Series. Then when the Cubs lost, he sent telegraph to Mr. Wrigley. He says, who smells now? You always tell me the Cubs, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere.
And it seems they haven't. The Cubs never make it back into the World Series after the curse is cast in 1945. Every time they get within reach of the postseason, something freakish always seems to knock them right out. 1969, Cubs are swept by the Miracle Mets after a black cat crosses the field. 84, legendary Cub Leon Bull Durham flubs a routine grounder and the Cubs hand San Diego the pennant. 2003, they're 5 outs away from the World Series when a fan inadvertently blocks a play. Their luck turns and the Cubs are out of the running. The GOAT strikes again.
So as you heard, there were a number of circumstantial things that took place that did not allow the Cubs to make it to the World Series and ultimately win the World Series. That was until the years of 2015, 2016. We would see the Cubs in 2015 really start to become the team that we would ultimately see them be in 2016 when they won the World Series. Now, as the crew of Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, Schwarber, Wilson Contreras all started coming together to really become the team that we would know them to be in 2016. This is when that team was starting to be viewed as a dynasty. On that 2016 World Series championship team, you had your superstar players. Chris Bryant coming off of an MVP season. Anthony Rizzo, a Gold Glove caliber first baseman capable of being a power threat in the middle of the order. Javi Baez was the dynamic defensive wild card that you didn't know what you were going to get, but he always seemed to come up clutch in big moments. Now, this is also the team that had star role players like Jason Hayward. We all heard about the team meeting that was called during that rain delay, and we would see a different team come out of that rain delay for the Chicago Cubs, ultimately leading to the win and the World Series championship, the first one in 108 years. So where did it go wrong? Those same players came back in 2017, but there seemed to be a malaise of sorts for the Chicago Cubs. Every year it is dubbed the World Series hangover.
What happened last night?
Am I missing a tooth?
Oh. Whose baby is that?
Check its collar or something.
Where you play late into the season, you get a break to start spring training, and you're not on the same level of grind. You're not having the same level of hunger that you had going into it. And sadly, that did seem to be the case for these same Chicago Cubs. They would get off to a very slow start in the following season. The Cubs would go on to play 92-70 baseball, which would lead them to the division, but that would almost be where they would stop, as they would lose mightily in the NLCS in 2017 to the Los Angeles Dodgers in a 4-1 series defeat. The following year, the Cubs got back to looking like the team that they were in 2016, winning 95 games in 2018. However, they would be eliminated in the wild card matchup to the Colorado Rockies. 2019 would see them slip all the way down to third place in the National League Central Division with an 84-78 record. And in 2020, they would sort of bounce back, making it back to the postseason, but losing in the wild card round to the Miami Marlins. And that leads us to this season. The Chicago Cubs would find themselves squandering away a very strong lead at the start of the season. They would kind of be a middling team with no real sense of identity and who they were. Heading into the July trading deadline, this team was questioned as to what they were going to do. Were they going to stand pat, maybe potentially add some players to try to make a push for one last run with this core group of Baez, Bryant, and Rizzo? However, the Cubs would pivot and go the opposite direction. They would trade Javi Baez to the New York Mets.
Alonso at first and 2 out, and Baez gets one in the air to left field. Winker going back, looking up, and it's out of here!
Chris Bryant to the San Francisco Giants.
Deep left field. It is a home run!
And Anthony Rizzo to the New York Yankees.
Ever have to buy a meal there. And now he drills one deep to right field. There it goes. See ya.
Ultimately, when these moves were made, the Cubs signaled that this was the new beginning for the Chicago Cubs. Another drought impending. Now, for the Chicago Cubs, they were able to acquire some very good players back in these deals. However, it's going to take time for the Chicago Cubs to get back to the level that they were. So what caused this disastrous decline? Simply put, there is no easy answer. However, I do think that it comes from initially a place of stagnancy from the players, not knowing what and how difficult it is to get back to a level once you have achieved the highest level of honor by winning the World Series. The other aspect that I think that really takes hold in this should have been dynasty was that the rest of the league caught up to them. They understood what made the Cubs tick. Every team then began to start tanking and trading off their best assets and moving towards this same level of success, started moving towards this format for building a championship caliber team. When half the league is tanking, you are going to have years where you win 90 plus games, as we would see with the Cubs in 2017 and 2018. However, when the rest of the league began to go back the other direction, no longer tanking but start investing in their players, investing in their team, that's where you started to see that this Chicago Cubs team did not have the depth needed to be able to extend that run. Yes, there were very good players on those teams. Again, the aforementioned Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez, along with Ian Happ, Kyle Schwarber, Wilson Contreras, amongst other players. However, the Cubs were unable to push that level of success towards another World Series. Where this leaves the Cubs, we'll have to wait and see. But what we do know is that there's going to have to be another team that picks up the mantle and becomes the next dynasty in baseball. Who will that be? We'll have to wait and see. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What are your feelings about the Chicago Cubs dynasty that should have been? Also, who do you think is the next team to be the dynasty? Obviously, early favorites are the Los Angeles Dodgers, as they have won the 2020 World Series Championship, the most recent World Series champions. But they find themselves now playing in a division with the San Francisco Giants, who were once thought to be another great dynasty. But ultimately, when you failed and became the last place team every other year that you did not win a championship from the 2010 to 2014, it kind of loses some of the muster of what could have been a dynasty. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What are your feelings about the Cubs and the moves that they made at the trading deadline and where they're headed now for their future? This was just the first episode, again, in this mini-series entitled Woulda Shoulda Coulda, about what should have been, would have been, or could have been in the world of Major League Baseball. We have a few more episodes of this planned out for the rest of the year, so make sure you keep it locked into the Baseball Banter Broadcast by hitting that subscribe button down below. It does a huge service for us as we are trying to grow this fan base and continue pushing forward to bring you the best baseball-related content here on YouTube. So make sure you keep it locked in. Check out our sister channels, WeSips, The Granite Geek Show, and the Laracuente Ledger Network. And if there's a topic in the world of Major League Baseball that you feel would have been great, should have been great, or could have been, let me know that down in the comment section below, and we'll put that together. So thank you guys for tuning in to this first installment, and I will catch you guys with the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Catch you guys on the next video. Peace.